Good afternoon. This is ESO News, and I am happy to be on here to be along here with your drive, whether you're at your house, apartment, or whether you're driving in your car, truck, or maybe your semi truck. And this is the important part of what I want to explain. It's kind of one of my jobs of to get you guys logged in. If you're not logged in and you're watching this, what I want you to do is I want you to go off of your device, and I want you to log into your own account. I'm going to try to explain. There's a lot of different places that are seeing this in Elder Scrolls. It's just not Elder Scrolls. It's the different channels that are available, and chatting is one of the most important things in society to where we can communicate. It's an important thing. Seeing pictures like this. Not only does it involve payment, but it involves communicating the need to get the system logged in your account. It's kind of like seasonal music. This is some pretty sweet stuff. Listening to the different sounds of the season, super sweet. So if you are not logged in but you're watching, what I want you guys to do is I want you to go off of the program and then log into your system to where you can see this and to where we can record your device to where you're recorded to where you're seen. That's an important thing in society. No joke. This is a really good thing. I'm not going to go over the all of the little ins and outs of logging into ElderScrollsOnline.com because that's a complex nature in getting logged into the system. We can go over into that later on, but right now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to log in to your account in which you are watching. So if you have a friend that's watching and they're not logged in, if you're hearing this, what I want you to do is I want you to go off of your device and I want you to log in. I want them to witness you log into your own account. That's the important part. There's not much communication going on throughout the different places. I'm logged in over in Twitch and I'm not looking over at some other places over like Trovo. This is an important thing for you guys to get logged in so we can record the information. Wouldn't it be a sweet thing to where not only if you were to meet me personally or if you were to meet another person personally that is outside of the line that is actually looking in, it's a beautiful thing to speak to any of us or well, speak to you. That's the important thing going in here into the season. We've got a couple weeks before the reason of the season. So that's kind of the music here. Part of the company, what they have done is they have put in some Christmas music, and this is kind of bringing in the season. This is a really good thing with ESO News, as this transmits to all of the Elder Scrolls universe. And if you kind of think about that, that's a big thing to think about. That's over 22 million users. The actual company doesn't even know how many actual users there are. The only information that the company has is that we have over, we have at least 22 million users that go into Elder Scrolls each and every day. And by you guys logging into your account every day, that's kind of a routine that's really good thing. It doesn't involve payments all the time. It does involve paying a monthly fee, of course. But what I'm explaining, the need for you guys to log in, it's so we can get your information to where we can better the system. if you have an Android or an iPad, for example, we want to better those devices. You see what I'm saying? Twitch, for example, the specific site of Twitch cannot survive if you guys don't log in. You guys might be able to watch Twitch, for example, but in the future you're most likely not going to even be able to watch Twitch if you can't log in. You see what I'm saying? Over on the iPad side, it is harder than heck to get logged in. And so by you guys logging in to iPad, those of you that are iPad users, what I want you to do is I want you to try to log into Twitch if you are an iPad user. If you're an iPad user, you're most likely looking at a different place that you are able to watch. And if you are on YouTube, look at what that means. It's harder than heck to chat inside of YouTube. So there's multiple places that are available for you guys to watch this programming. All of this programming has been brought to you to grow your mind. That's an important thing. It's learning Sesame Street all over again. Sesame Street has kind of gone away, and Elder Scrolls has kind of taken over to where we're learning Sesame Street all over again. Super sweet, super beautiful. If you have a baby, they'll even learn. They probably even want to get on the deer as well. Redley is on the deer right now. As you can see, Redley had a rough night last night, and Redley she went out from home over in Sweetwater Cascades, all the way over into Elsewhere, and she made it over to the farm. It's so fun, so fun. And going over into Elsewhere is a little different land in Tamriel. So when you're looking at going over into Elsewhere, you'll start understanding where Redley is and where we're going with this over in Tamriel. Right now, it is the fourth quarter in Elder Scrolls, and we are presenting the second DLC of Elsewhere as the system is becoming better known, and by us having better knowledge, we can communicate more effectively. It's really fun. As I was just beginning, I had not much information to go off of, and I was thinking it was the second quarter, but since it started here in December, I thought it was the third quarter. Inside of the company, I have the knowledge to where I can impart upon you guys to where explain to you what quarter we are in. In an actual competition game, when you think of quarters, it's just like school. And with Sesame Street, it's just like school, where you get to learn a lot of little different things. And for you, those of you that are kids that might be getting out of school, you'll start learning what quarter systems are. It's really fun part of the educational system. And when you learn that you're in the fourth quarter, like, wow, I'm in the fourth quarter. My baby school, I'm in the fourth quarter. So those of you kids that are in kindergarten, you're in the fourth quarter. You're in the fourth quarter of kindergarten. Like, wait a minute. My teacher didn't tell me I was going to be out of school. You're probably thinking like, oh, I want to get out of kindergarten. Now, those of you that are in the university, like I'm in kindergarten. You guys haven't taken your final yet, and you have to take your exam, and you have to study to where you can pass that exam. Now, in kindergarten, what exam is that? Learning your B. Well, and elsewhere, where's your bee? Well, over the farm, there's not a whole lot that's known about where a bee is. There's some structures. There's some objects that have the letter B in there. What's that though? Over and elsewhere. Well, we don't have a B in Rimmon. Well, we can sell some things that are that have the letter B. We gotta learn a little about the system. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go off the screen, and then we're going to start preparing for the new game that is coming in that you guys are going to absolutely love. It's giving some of the people in the company a migraine. And for that purpose, that is fun because they get to learn all sorts of about the alphabet. So I will be right back. Quack, quack. Have you ever seen the duck? So going over about what's going on inside of ESO over in the crown crates that's going on. That's a big complex nature of what's going on where you have to do all sorts of things, and I'll try to explain that and make it less complex and to where we can understand how the crown crates actually work. Right now, currently in Elder Scrolls, by you just logging in, you'll receive a reward, which will help out improve the system and help us grow, just like DuckDuckGo. Now, how do you log in to the duck? How do you log into the duck? You really can't. Yeah, all right. I've tried to log into the duck, but duck just doesn't. You're looking at this and you're like, what the heck is what the heck is the duck? Duck, duck, go. It's like you like drop, stop, roll, or something like before while you're in a fire. Like get the duck out. Duck's just like go. You gotta go. Like okay, duck. What was this? So this is the things that DuckDuckGo is available and is very good. Very small site, but very good backing for places like AOL and Google. DuckDuckGo is a wonderful quack site to where goes into iPads, Androids, Macintoshes, and Windows. Well, essentially, every device has a window, and so making it less complex. Going over to the duck will teach you a lot about what's going on with logging in. And so, if you're not logged in, what I want you to do now is I want you to go over to DuckDuckGo.com. Pretty sweet stuff. Just going to go over some quick things. The two places that are available for you guys to see in the chatting, in the older, kind of the first generation chat lines that started up in the early 2000s was AOL. AOL is an important part of society that most people forgot about. AOL Instant Messenger. It's almost next to no place like in chatting in the chatting world, and so we're gonna let DuckDuckGo kind of go in there. So I'm just gonna type in where we have information on a place like Twitch. So just typing in Twitch. Does DuckDuckGo have Twitch? They have some stuff on Twitch. DuckDuckGo, and DuckDuckGo does. As you can see, Twitch is an American live streaming platform service that focuses on video game live streaming. I'm just going to explain how there's kind of two different forms of what Twitch is. You see people that are talking to you on a device. You're like, hey, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And so it takes two forms. It takes two people. It takes the person speaking into the thing, and also the person that's watching the person speak. This is basically another form of AOL Instant Messenger. Twitch is really Twitch honestly is another form of AOL Instant Messenger, where we can communicate more effectively. And so I've got to explain how there are some login issues. And so by you guys just going into twitch.tv is going to do us no good if you're not logging in. If you go in and you just watch the program but you don't log in, you're really doing a disservice by not logging in, because you won't be able to chat inside of places like Twitch. I'm just using Twitch for an example to show you guys how important it is for you guys to have your Twitch working all right. You can get Twitch basically in any of your devices. It's very very important for those of you guys that are either on the App Store or over on the Play Store to have your Twitch running properly. Those of you that are on Android, that use specifically Android, there's a new update that just came in for Twitch. So if you're just getting on your device and you're looking to get into Twitch, make sure you have your app updated. Then you can go in and you can discuss on the chat board. That's another important part of being able to communicate. If you are just watching this program, but you're not able to chat, you're not going to be able to do some more things that you might want to. I'm just explaining how you're like, well, at least I can watch. That does you no good. If you can't even chat on Twitch. I'm just using Twitch as an example how, like, if we cannot communicate, as in just type in simple sentences, we're going to be in some major trouble. And so what I'm explaining, the need for DuckDuckGo to be able to transmit over having Twitch in the search system of DuckDuckGo, for example, we need these things to work. Over on the iPad, it's a little different, and so what I'm going to have to explain is there's two different systems in kind of like more along the lines of like cell phone technology. The iPads are not really a cell phone, but they're a form of a cell phone. And so when we look at how bettering the system in both Android and the iPad, those are two really important devices that we need to be able to work. There's some problems in the iPad because I specifically have an iPad, but the phone is not functioning properly. See what I'm saying? Phone calls can't even be received. And so what has to happen is the monies have to come in, and that's not a guarantee that the cell phone is even going to be able to make a phone call or receive a phone call. You see what I'm saying? How important it is for you guys to be logged in to places like Twitch. So I'm explaining how for you guys to where you want to go over to the log in button. And now if you cannot log in currently, I'm just going to explain how difficult the system has become on what's going on. I had Twitch logged in over on the iPad, for example. Well, Twitch was logged in, but Twitch was having some bugs come in, and when those bugs come in, sometimes they have to be reprogrammed. And so, what I'm explaining with the programming, there is a thing called code. Those of you that are mere children don't understand what code is just yet. When you understand that things have to be programmed, such as on maybe your mama or your dad's cell phone, these things have to be what's called coded. Like it's like a covering. The mommy and daddy's cell phone has to be covered. That makes sense. So when the previous for those of you kids that are watching, what I'm explaining is these things, your mommy or daddy's cell phones. Most likely, your mom and dad have two cell phones that they use. One for her and one for him. So it's like going into the season with where when Santa Claus is gonna come in. That's gonna be so much fun. Having Santa bringing a present to your place, bringing that sweet gift that you're most likely gonna get. Now there's an old tale over in Raymond where an elf came in with a reindeer on a sleigh. And he went up to the bad child. And the child was so excited to see the elf. And the elf said, "Well, how good have you been this year, child?" And the bad child says, "I've been very good. I've been very good. I've been very good." The elf just looks at the child. The elf looks at the child and says, "Have you got Twitch logged in?" Just got back in here and here in ESO news. This is a great thing, and this is two avenues that are going to be presented. What I'm explaining with the need to where we can communicate. This is a necessary thing to live, and what I'm going to explain in the two different forms of what we can use. This is an important thing for you guys to understand to where you can communicate because we need to be able to communicate. There's some places I'm just going to use specific the specific company that I use for the internet, for example. There's many different services. There's basically two different branches that are used for the internet, such as CenturyLink and Xfinity. The one I use is Xfinity, and what I'm going to use is a relation for the internet of what I'm talking about to where we can communicate is the two companies, Nokia and Motorola. So what's Motorola going to use, and what's Nokia going to use? Now that's kind of the key. Like, which devices are going to be used by which company? Well, when a company asks another company, what are you going to use? Well, when the other company says this is what I'm going to use, the other company is going to say this is what we're going to use. And so what I'm talking about with Xfinity is Xfinity is going to ask CenturyLink, what are you guys going to use? And they're going to tell Xfinity, this is what we're going to use. And that's what the information is given to Xfinity. And so Xfinity will go with what information is available. So what I'm talking about here in Elder Scrolls to for the game series of how we can communicate. This is an important part for you guys to understand whether you're going to be using a cell phone or whether you're going to be using a text messaging device. So what I'm explaining with the difference between Nokia and Motorola, what devices are going to be used in the different companies? Well, the two different places that I've used throughout the years, I've used some Nokias, but Motorola is really the devices that I've used. So what I'm explaining with Motorola, back all the way when we had the little beepers, when we were using the beepers, those were really cool, really cool stuff. And so when you're looking into Elder Scrolls, whether you're playing the fifth version of Elder Scrolls or whether you were starting to play the sixth version of Elder Scrolls, or maybe you're playing an older version of Elder Scrolls. This is an important thing to know of how we can communicate. So there's two different forms of devices that we can use. So we need to understand what Nokia is doing. What is Nokia going to give up the device that uses text messages? Or is Nokia going to go in the line to where making phone calls, making and receiving phone calls? Both companies have to survive, and being able to make phone calls, both companies have to have cell phones. Now, the difference between in Elder Scrolls, the new game systems and the old game systems, we have the availability to use the different devices. And what I'm talking about with DuckDuckGo is having the connection with places like Twitch. And so we have to learn how the system works. DuckDuckGo is just not a search site. It's a forum for us to where we can communicate and get over to the other side. So what I'm explaining here with looking into the different game versions, some of the older versions of Elder Scrolls games. And so what I'm talking about with the text messaging devices of what's available, there's some good things that are available, and what looks like what I'm going to be start using is the more of the cell phone type of the cell phone type of stuff. Now that might not be entirely true. What has to happen is the correct information has to be communicated, and what I'm going to use, that's not that's not yet seen. So what I'm explaining is what the company wants me to be able to do is be able to present the online side of Elder Scrolls, such as what's called better known as ESO. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get some devices, and it's kind of I'm kind of gearing towards some of the guys that are going to be coming over here in the future. I kind of have an inkling they're going to be coming over here in the near future. I'm going to be so excited, and they will be excited to give, because what's going to happen is that's fulfilling the the giving aspect, the basic fulfillment of the cycle of payments. When we give, we receive, and then we give back, and then it's an endless cycle. Like when you're thinking of in Elder Scrolls what endless archive is, it's an endless goodness to where we go through the portals, and we can go through there. We go through there, we get in there, and then we get over to the other portal to where we get back over into DuckDuckGo, going back over into Twitch. It's an endless cycle of goodness. Really, really is. And so now I'm going to actually talk about the devices that are an important part of society that is lesser known. So what I'm going to look in here as the exact devices that I need. Most likely, those are going to be used, which are a little bit more expensive, but that's the important part. That's the important part, like a larger part to where we can communicate. All of these devices, they're expensive. However, the devices that are going to actually propel the exchanges, the buying and the selling, that's the important part. We want to be able to buy, sell, and trade, and that's what's being talked about. If we do not get paid in certain areas, we cannot buy, nor can we sell, nor can we trade. So that's the important thing of what I'm talking about, the differences between Nokia and Motorola. Now, the individual device that I'm going to bring out right now is called the N-Gage. And so the device in there of the N-Gage, it's been known to be able to text message. Now, is Nokia going to use that, or are they just going to go away from the device? What has to happen if they're going away from the device? They have to give the information over to Motorola, where Motorola can make more N-Gages. Now, is Nokia going to continue to make the N-Gages, or is Motorola going to take over? That's yet to be seen. I'm not for sure exactly. Right here over in what looks like in Wikipedia, the manufacturer is known as Nokia for bringing in the type of what's called a handheld game console and mobile phone. So what I'm talking about with the mobile phone, the N-Gages, I'm not familiar with because I've never owned one, but it would not bother me if I was using an N-Gage, because we would be able to communicate in some form. Now, whether we can use this as calling out as a cell phone, more likely what the N-Gage looks like it would be used in a proper form is by text messaging. Sending out a text message. There's a difference between sending out a text message and an email. The frequencies in the radio broadcasting world is there's a difference between the text messaging and the emailing. When we send out the radio wave, it's kind of like we have an A-B connection. The A is kind of considered as the text messaging, where the B is the cell phone frequency. So what we have to do is we have to find out what the companies are doing. Right here it says the manufacturer is Nokia. However, does Nokia, do they make them? Is there any information in Nokia that they're continuing the device? Over here in Wikipedia, right here, as you see, some people, they don't like to see the donation screen in there of like giving something. That's an important thing in society, to where we give in the donations. That's not what's being communicated right now. What's being communicated right now, who is going to continue the engage. I find that this device is a very valuable tool that can be used for spreading the word and being able to communicate over into places like Vesta or over in ZeniMax, to where both ZeniMax and Vesta can communicate together. What device is used in the companies of Elder Scrolls to where we can communicate together? Well, obviously, we have to be able to communicate. Say I am an employee of Vesta, and I want to communicate over to ZeniMax, to a ZeniMax employee. We have to be able to communicate to each other through a device. It's not just through a PC or a Macintosh. It has to be through the game console lines, to where we can communicate to a smaller audience such as ourselves, that whether we are speaking to somebody over in Vesta or over in ZeniMax. That's the important thing to know, to where we can communicate. Back in the day, where the beeper devices were available, we were able to text message each other. However, that's kind of gone away, and those things are still available. And right now, this is an important thing for us to start looking into, over with what the N-Gage actually is. This is okay when you see ads. Don't worry about that when you see an ad. Some people, they kind of get a little perturbed over things. It doesn't bother me seeing like this information, because someone has to be fed. Somebody has to be paid. And right in here where it says, sorry to interrupt, but our fundraiser won't last long. So basically, if you have the money and you're supposed to pay your due, that's what you want to do by paying your due. And so with this, by me paying my due, it's got to be one or the other device. It looks like most likely I won't get an N-Gage, but the possibility of me getting an N-Gage, that might be, or you might get an N-Gage as well. This is a sweet console. When you're looking at the small, I'm fairly sure it's a small screen, and using this to text message. This is an important thing for us to understand, whether we are sending a text message or an email. What's more expensive, a text message or an email? Most likely an email is more expensive than a text message. So when you look at a cell phone company on what's less expensive, well, in some form, an email is cheaper. But if you're using it for a specific company, such as Elder Scrolls, we want to have the same devices. And so what this looks like, the N-Gage is more than likely used by a lot of people in Elder Scrolls. Not to say that this will be bought by me, but quite possibly this will. Nokia introduced the N-Gage QD in 2004 as a redesign of the original classic N-Gage, fixing widely criticized issues and design problems. However, the new model was unable to make an impact, and with only 2 million units sold in its 2 years, the N-Gage and QD model were commercial failure, unable to challenge their Nintendo rival. I'm not for sure if Nintendo was an actual rival. I don't think that Nintendo actually was a rival. However, with this information over on Wikipedia of what this says, how Nintendo was a rival, it kind of goes back to the lines of Arena and Super Mario. Arena was not a well-known game over in the early 90s, and most likely, most of the early employees of Elder Scrolls were using the N-Gages rather than a Nintendo device to communicate a message to the company. I'm not sure why Nintendo hasn't stepped in on certain things. They're probably saying, "Hey, that's not a Nintendo. That's not a Nintendo. That's an N-Gage." It kind of is fitting in Elder Scrolls when you look at it here via the N-Gage Arena service. Elder Scrolls people were probably stoked about the N-Gage coming in the early 2000s. They're probably stoked. If I would have known about the N-Gage, I would have got one in a heartbeat. It sound like Saints marching down the music. This is great seasonal music. It really is. So if you're looking to get a device of what you're going to be able to communicate, what I'm explaining is the need for us to be able to log in to a specific system that we're actually watching. Whether we're when somebody emails us, we want to be able to see the email, or we want to be able to see a text message. So how are we going to, or what are we going to be using? That's an important thing. On a deeper level, over in Steam, we want to be able to actually chat during the game. Now, over on a system such as an Xbox or a PlayStation, I'm not for sure what the chat line even looks like because I'm not currently using an Xbox or a PlayStation. What I have found is it's an important thing for the controllers to be able to communicate a chat message. And the individual device that's being looked at right now with the N-Gage looks like this is a very good device. Not in the game as sending a message to another person, but it's a good device where sending out information. And what I'm talking about with it looks like the competitions between the communication devices was the Game Boys and the N-Gages. This is what it looks like. I've never really played really far into what the Game Boy Advance was. However, I'm assuming that the Game Boy Advance was an important tool, or is an important tool for Nintendo to communicate between each other. So what I'm talking about here with Elder Scrolls, most likely the N-Gage is the device that's actually communicated as the preferred device, as a suitable communication device for communicating between the company. Right over here, I'm going to go off of the screen as I've done a lot of talking. Hopefully you're learning a lot of information on what you're going to buy in the future. Right now, currently, what I need you guys to do is I need you to be able to log into your system that you're in right now. That's the important thing, to where you guys can be able to log in instead of just watching. Because if you're just watching and you're not logged in, the individual company that you are looking in on your device at, if you're not paying a monthly fee in that device, that company is going to look at the consumer as that device is not getting paid. And so what I'm talking about, the first step is for you guys to actually log in to your device system that you're watching this program on. So I will take a really quick break and I'll be right back. Hopefully you're learning a lot and you're having a good drive. Be right back. Let's get back in here and about news on ESO news. This is a great thing as kind of things are becoming clearer to me on what needs to be done. There's an important thing that needs to be known. You're not gonna know everything, and if you just hear what's going on, you'd be like, oh, you can't flip your brain, and that's kind of why certain people, they can't know certain pieces of information. And so what I'm explaining, the need for things like these to work. What I'm trying to find out is what is going to actually work for us the best. I am with both companies. I'm not against certain things, but when I see things that are not going to actually work because of a certain thing that I'm going into, I'm going to lead towards another company. In the gaming world, there is a separation between mentalities of what I'm talking about. You cannot go into another part of a company if you are a type of person that is a specific user. I'm just gonna explain. There are two main gaming companies in the world called Nintendo and Sega. It's pretty obvious to me where I am, and so I'm pretty much like Sega. It's pretty obvious to me, but for those of you that are not like not in, that you might think you're like, oh well, Sega, that'd be pretty cool, but if you're a Nintendo, you gotta stick with what Nintendo's going to help you grow. Nintendo is a great gaming company. I have a Switch, and that's an important communication device for Nintendo. However, I'm seeing that the old devices such as a Game Boy Advance, when it goes further down the line of what you need to be able to communicate, and if there's devices, if the larger devices such as the Switches go down, well, we need those other devices that are gonna work for us. And so what I'm talking about with the N-Gage, you kind of looking at here with the N-Gage, an N-Gage is a Sega. When it comes down to it, when you look further on to where the N-Gage, it's kind of like the current model that just went out, which is called Stadia. Everyone was so excited about Stadia. I was too. I went on there on Stadia, and I loved how the system worked in Stadia. I really honestly did. It actually broke my heart when Stadia actually went down. It really broke my heart, because that was the end for ESO. It really was. I'm heartbroken because Stadia is basically no longer exists. And how do we get into different things? Just because you hear me say something that actually works, and if you're just listening and don't pay for a proper channel, well, that's gonna bite you in the butt later on. So what I'm explaining with the N-Gage is you've got to make sure that you're logged into your device. Now, what I'm going to explain with how the N-Gages can get sold, this is super easy for those of us that understand. What I'm explaining with an N-Gage, who's selling the N-Gages, obvious to those of us who know. It's Amazon. Amazon's actually selling the N-Gages, and it's an important thing to give in to Amazon, because Amazon's going to be able to give the in where they'll be able to communicate back to Nokia or Motorola, whoever the company is who takes over, it's not going to matter to us whether the end gauge shows the manufacturer as Nokia or Motorola. That's an important thing to know, that these devices will run for us. When the devices, this is an obvious thing, whether somebody steals a device or whether they use the device and tamper with the device. That's a concern for some people, and these things are meant to last. I've had both happen to me. So what I'm explaining, the need for us to be able to make new devices such as the N gauge, that's the important thing to know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get off of the screen. I'm going to go off. I'm going to take a quick short break, recess, whatever you want to call it, and I will be back. Hopefully you're learning a lot. Just got back here, and if you can't see me, that's okay too. But the important thing is for you guys, kind of like when you have like a his and her riding steed. My stupid horse is right here. So I'm waiting for my stupid sweet horse to come in to where I can ride. But can't forget about Leeble. It's like Leeble's there, but Leeble's not getting taken care of. So we're looking at like, what do you do? Like, I can't even get a bow out. I got a little paring knife that I use to like cook some vegetables, cook out to Fritas. It's like, what are we gonna do? And so by getting horsey, yeah, that's gonna be an important thing. And so with the red lib, where's she gonna ride? She's gonna ride that deer. She wants that deer. She's like, I want to keep on riding that deer. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I gotta ride my stupid horsey. Stupid third DLC horsey. That is a sweet horse. That is a sweet horse. It's like, you're like going over, you're like, where's that? That is a professional horse. Going. So this is what we're getting to with by just logging in to your account every day. This is an important thing to where we're getting further in to. It's like, don't bring that elk around. This right here of what's going on. Have you logged in? Did you get your crown crate? Is this the crown crate that you had received? If you haven't logged in today, log into your Elder Scrolls account, and you should see the potentate crate. It's great. So it's on the 7th day. The snow bear cub. Be pretty cute, huh? I want the snow bear cub. Everyone wants the snow bear cub, but nobody wants to get the potentate crate. It's great. Okay, so I'm going to leave this on here. I'm going to go off of the screen. Hopefully you're learning a lot, and make sure you get your crate because that's going to help your account grow as you grow in Elder Scrolls. So I am going to take a quick break and make sure you get your crate.